Hey boys, welcome back to the channel where we are going to be continuing our NRL 2023 discussions, and in this video it's going to be one of the main movers and shakers of the NRL for the last couple of years really. They have been absolutely spending up a storm, and that is the doggies, the Bulldogs. So first off, we'll go through the gains and the losses. They have obviously moved a few players on as well, but let's go through. So Manu Brown from the Tigers, actually, that's a decent little pickup. Obviously with the Reed Marnie signing as well, it's more of a depth signing, but you could chuck Farman, I don't know. We'll talk more about the team in a moment, but Brown, he just adds some versatility. It was great to see him back. Honestly, it was great to see him back after an extended time away, and thoughts probably wouldn't see him back in the NRL, but he was very good last year, so good to see him. And also in the World Cup, he was pretty solid as well. Any more notable ones? Andrew Davey goes to the doggies. That's actually a decent pickup as well. They're definitely gonna have some forward depth at the Dogs for the next couple of years. Obviously, Viliami Kikau, not much needed to say about him. We'll talk more about it for the 17 or the predicted 17. Reed Marnie again. He's an interesting one to talk about. Obviously, we mentioned. When the hell did I talk about this? I don't know when I talked about it, but I've definitely talked about Jeremy Marshall King v Reed Marnie, but we'll go into that again. Franklin Pele from the Sharks, also a notable inclusion there. The big boy. Honestly, I'm a little shocked he didn't get more game time. Well, any game time at the Sharks last year.Maybe they just knew, or it might have already been finalised that he'd signed with the Dogs, so in a little bit of spite, they just didn't play him, because there is no shot Pele is not good enough for the NRL. And again, it'll be interesting to see how they sort of put all these forwards into the team. There's going to be a couple of good ones to miss out for sure. Hayes Perham from the Eels goes over there, is again a bit of a Mr. Fix-It type player. He plays pretty much anywhere in the back five. There's talks that he's maybe going to play at fullback, which, that's definitely one of their struggles, I think, and we'll touch on that. And then Ryan Sutton coming from the Raiders. So another forward, another big bopper in the middle to try to get minutes for. But they've signed pretty well. There's obviously a couple of other guys there that I'm not too familiar with, but they've signed some players. The losses, honestly, aren't too well. There's a mix. So Corey Allen gone, Matt Doorey gone. Both guys that, Corey Allen he was an Origin Series winner a couple of years ago, but I don't know. Even at the Rabbitohs, I was never that big a fan of Corey Allen. I don't. I never particularly. He was okay, but the Dogs picking him up for pretty decent money, I think, was a bit of a shocker there. And then he's obviously moving to the Roosters for a bit of backup there. Matt Doorey, a decent fringe player, I would say. I haven't been too impressed with him from what I've seen, but going to the Eels. Matt Duffy, obviously released last year. Jack Hetherington gone to the Knights. So, that's a decent blow. But Hetherington, the way he was at the Dogs, it probably wasn't. It probably isn't a loss at all, because he just, he found himself on the sidelines more often than not. Sin bins. There was obviously quality sprinkled in there, but what he really, if you look back on what he produced at the Dogs, it just wasn't really good enough. So I think the move there is a good thing for both parties. Josh Jackson retiring, which was a bit of a bombshell. I gotta be honest. I think I'm not trying to insinuate that the Dogs maybe forced him to retire with salary cap pressures. but there might have been discussions that it might have been time for him to retire, because I don't know, I thought Jackson might have had a couple more years in him, but yeah, it just seemed a little bit just a touch convenient, but it is what it is. Obviously Josh Jackson, he made the call at the end of the day. Jerry Marshall-King going to the Dolphins. Now, this is a big loss. You wouldn't have heard me say that before last year, but Marshall-King definitely came into his own last year, and I thought he was the most improved player of the comp, without doubt. I would say. Brent Naden, again, he moved last year. Aaron Sharp, again, a decent... This one is... I would probably say this is the biggest loss, because he was one of these young dogs coming through that was... I mean, he's already shown in these brief stint that he's very... I like Sharp a lot. I think he's a great pickup for the Titans. Strong defensively, strong ball carrier, has that aggression in him. So I think that's a really big loss for the Dogs in their backline stocks. And then Joe Stimson gone, who didn't, again, he was a bit of a... I mean, they spent a bit of money getting Stimson from the Storm and just never really produced. Didn't even really get any game time as well, but it is what it is. And then Paul Vaughan also gone, who... Yeah, it's probably his time to go, and it makes a bit of room for some more big boppers. And then we look at, we'll switch over here, look at the predicted team. I'll say before I go into the actual team itself, I'm predicting that the Dogs, they're definitely going to be better than last year, but I do think that they still miss out on the top 8. Again, they're going to be in that logjam from 7th to 13th, but I do predict the Dogs are just going to miss out on the top 8 for the sheer fact that I still believe they don't have a very good halfback, and their fullback is still an unknown quantity. So the predicted team, they do have Jake Averillo at fullback, who, in fairness, when the odd chance he had a fullback, he did look pretty good. He's obviously got he's got potential. He's got the speed. He's got the skills. They've tried him in numerous positions now: 5'8", center, fullback. I don't know what his best position is. Is he a long-term fullback? I still have my doubts about Averillo being a long-term fullback, but he's got all the attributes to be a fullback. So time will tell on that front, but I still, I do think it's still going to be one of their weaker areas, which is a very crucial area. Having a star fullback it's almost a must-have in this day and age of rugby league. You need to have that fullback be basically one of your best players. And is Jake Averillo there? He might turn into it, but I don't think at the moment. The back 5 is pretty exciting. Jacob Kiraz, Josh Adokar. Kiraz was... How good was he? I don't particularly like the Bull. I've never really liked the Bulldogs, but they got some good youngsters coming through that I am excited to see grow. And Kiraz was just he was a gun, dude. He was an absolute gun, and I do think that he probably will stick on the wing, but I wouldn't be shocked if eventually he does get a shot in the centres. And I mean, in the World Cup, he played at fullback. So, I mean, there's another option, Kiraz at fullback. I think the running game is dynamic. Ball playing and stuff as a fullback, I definitely don't think would be up to standard at the moment. But Kiraz down the track potentially could maybe shift into fullback. He's definitely got the talent. I love watching Kiraz. The centers they've got, so the youngster Paul Alamotti, who is obviously very highly touted. I personally haven't seen too much of him, but he's going to be a good player. Just the raps on him. Braden Burns gets the other spot, which I don't know about, because they've got... I mean, Declan Casey, another youngster who had a shock. I don't know if it was his debut game, or it was either his debut or one of his first couple. He had an absolute shocker. It was bad conditions, but I remember him dropping the ball 3 or 4 times. Then he also got a concussion, ruled him out of the game. He had an absolute shocker, but other games he's played, he looks very good. They've got Gerald Skelton, who came over from the Sevens last year and was very, very powerful in the lower grades. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Skelton there at some point. So I don't know about Braden Burns. Personally, if I was looking at that team, I don't think I'd have Burns. I don't know, if I was picking the team on a bit of just for excitement, I'd probably put Kiraz in the center and put Gerald Skelton on the wing. Or maybe Skelton's more of a center than a winger, I'm not too sure, but I'd probably go with that, or even Declan Casey could just slot straight into center, but we'll see what they go with there. And then the halves, obviously Burton, Burton, you know what you're going to get with him, but unfortunately, I still think Kyle Flanagan is not the halfback that the Dogs need. Maybe this year with a much better team, a very good dummy half, which they did have last year again with with Marshall King. I thought the dummy half was great, but a better forward pack should be rolling forward. If Kyle Flanagan, I feel like this is the last year for Kyle Flanagan. If he can't work off the back of this forward pack and get his forwards rolling and play off the back of that, then come on, there's no shot. There's no shot. I think Flanagan, we'll see. Maybe I'll eat my words this year, but I still think that's going to be their weakest point, is the halfback there. The front row, Luke Thompson, Ryan Sutton apparently will slot straight into the prop. Which, yeah, I mean, it could shuffle around. They got Pengai Jr. on the bench. They got Max King at 13, who could start at prop. So they got plenty of options there. But Ryan Sutton starting, and I think Luke Thompson definitely has one of those starting roles. And then out of a few guys who could pick up the other front row spot, Reed Marnie, again, this is going to be a big test for Reed Marnie. I think this is going to be very, very interesting to see, because Marnie, I mean, he was on the cusp of Origin. He was touted as probably, I mean, one of the top dummy halves in the game, but there's no doubt that his form dropped, which is weird to say because the Eels still made the grand final last year, but I think Marnie was definitely... His form was down. Now, whether or not that was because he'd signed with the Dogs and just, a little bit of outside factors just wasn't quite switched on, going to a new club, how does he pull up? But the thing is that he's played in an Eels side that the Eels team in the last couple of years where Marnie's been there, that team has been really good. The Eels side has been stacked. So Marnie has got to play off some really good forwards, some great go forward, and now he goes to the Dogs that, again, on paper, they got great forwards and they should get good roll forward, but it's a weaker team for sure. So it's going to be interesting to see how Marnie actually performs in a team that isn't as dominant as the Eels can be. So jury's out. I still think Marnie is a good signing. It would have been... It's just a weird one, right? Because Marshall King had his absolute stellar year last year, and then he gets moved on for Marnie, who I think was a bit down on form. But overall, long term, I do think Marnie is the better option. But time will tell. Marshall King now at the Dolphins, a new franchise, and Reed Marnie at a new club where it's building. So they're both building clubs. It'll be interesting to see who sort of comes out on top as the better 9 this year, I would think. The back row is very, very strong, and I like the look of it. Raymond Fatala Mariner, Viliami Kickout, and Max King has the lock spot. Again, you could throw TPJ at starting lock. Ryan Sutton could start at lock. It depends, but Max King was great last year. The work rate was great. The offloading was... Honestly, it was one of their strongest points, was their offloading, and Max King was fantastic. So I'm excited to see how Max King goes with more guys around him to help him out as well. Kickout, Kickout's a different factor to Marnie, because obviously Kickout has played in the best team for the last couple of years, or he's been there a while now, but Kickout, Kickout's going to be great. I don't think it matters what team Kickout goes to. He's going to be dominant. Like, one of his most underrated aspects is his defense. And I do still think that I don't think the Panthers fans quite realize what they're going to be missing with Kickout, because Kickout was on Luai's side, and Luai is not a good defender. He's not a good defender, but Kickout just made that edge so much stronger. Like, let's be honest, players probably don't want to run at Kickout. He jams in on halves constantly, just very, very good defensively. That's honestly one of his strongest elements. It's a massive, massive boost for the Dogs. And obviously, everyone knows the attacking prowess. Again, like, Kickout created so many tries off nothing last year and the year before. Just his ball running and then his ball playing. Like, there were so many sweep plays where not many back rows in the comp are going to be able to do this cutout pass to the winger and score. And then with the offloading, the tackle breaking, like, the man is a monster. So that's honestly a huge signing for the Dogs, and I think he'll be great. I don't think his form will really drop. Maybe he won't get as much quality football, but what he will get, he'll still dominate. I have no doubt about that. And then the bench at the moment, they got Brown as the utility, Jackson Topany, who again he could get a starting lock role potentially. Good young player. Tavita Pengai Jr. and Corey Waddell, who I wouldn't have Waddell there. I mean, you've got Andrew Davey, who could come in. Franklin Pele, who I talked about. I think surely Pele gets a bench spot, dude. I just want to see the big man in action. I just want to see the big man in the NRL, dude. I want to see what he can do. And I don't know, if I was a Bulldogs fan, I would want another big fella. Bring back the Dogs of old. Like, the forward packs for Dogs used to be just absolutely monstrous. So, god damn, put Pele on the bench for sure. But the rest of it, Pengai Jr., again, maybe gets a starting spot. Doesn't really matter with Pengai. He's a wild card, but I've always loved Pengai. I was still very disappointed that he left the Broncos. I think he was always very harshly criticized. I thought he was always one of the guys that was putting in, even when the Bronx were terrible. Like, at least he was creating stuff. He was firing up. Gave away a few penalties, got suspended, but I love Pengai Jr. He can do no wrong, and I think he's in for a good season. Like I said, Topany, good young player, and then Brown is what's it called? Utility, which I think is the right option. I mean, Marnie can definitely play 80 minutes, so it'll be interesting to see. That's why I don't think the bench quite makes sense, because you got Topany, who is also... I mean, Topany is probably more of a forward nowadays, but he can also slot in the dummy half if needed. So, I don't know. Personally, I think it's interesting. Maybe like Topany 14, Pengai Jr., Andrew Davey, Franklin Pele. Maybe that's a little bit too big, and you do need just... Maybe you need like a smaller guy nowadays, and it probably makes more sense nowadays. You just need at least one guy who can play like in the outside backs as well. So Topany, Topany can probably play in like the centers. He's got some speed, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. But they definitely have some depth. The Bulldogs are, they're building. They're definitely building. They got a strong team, but like I said, it's going to be crucial to see how Marnie plays in a new club. The number 7 and the fullback I still think are a bit weak, and without having like a really dominant spine, I just don't see that team making the top 8. So the Dogs, they're going to be better than last year. I think they're going to be an exciting team to watch, but I don't see them. I see them just missing out on the 8. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Make sure to like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.